Bring it on. It's on. Surprise! I'm back. Let me at 'em. Ready for battle.
Hey guys, welcome back. We are playing JAX today, a late game scaling split pusher. It is a champion that you want to pick up if you're looking for something that has a lot of damage, mobility and tankiness. His passive, every single time you attack, then you get a stack of this passive, and every single stack is going to give you bonus attack speed. Your E is the ability that you want to be starting with every single game. When you use it, then it is going to block out all auto attacks, and then it also makes you take reduced damage from AoE abilities. At the end of your E casting animation, then it is also going to stun everyone nearby. So this ability makes you insanely strong level 1 guys, so you really want to try to cheese your opponent, try to camp in brushes, wait for them to walk up and then you just force fights. That's what I did level 1 and that's why we ended up with such a big advantage. Your Q is a leap, just like a flash on a very low cooldown, because you can leap to anything that's targetable, including the warding totems. So that's why JAX is like one of those champs that you never want to switch out the warding totems on. You always want to keep that because that's like a free flash with your Q. And this is basically what Prio does, because you're able to walk into the enemy jungle, get some vision down so you can see the jungler and then play around them as well. Now you have your W, so that is a empowered auto attack that will also reset your basic attack timer. So before you use it, always get one auto attack in and then you immediately press W so you reset the auto attack and make the damage come out a lot faster. This W deals magic damage, and this is why JAX is so hard to counter, because he has a lot of physical damage and also magic damage in his kit. So even if you buy a lot of armor, then it typically does not do as much because he has so much magic damage. So with the passive, because it gives you so much attack speed, you typically want to stack it up on minions first before you go for those fights. Because a lot of your damage are in those auto attacks. It is a auto attack heavy champion guys. So by stacking it up before you fight, then you can really increase your DPS by a lot. So your E also works on the minions. You can use that to like, if you want to freeze and you don't want to take damage from the minions, then you can also use it on the minion wave. But before you use it on the champions, make sure that they have like an auto attack coming in, because it also deals bonus damage based on how much it blocked. No champion can trade with you level 1 when you have that E up. Really make sure that you abuse that strong early game, because afterwards it is going to get a bit harder. Your E can also be used for engaging, because it does stun people, so if you have a jungle gang coming in, then you can also engage with it. And make sure that your W, you always use it as an auto attack reset, because that's how you get the damage off really fast. Also remember to keep your E active guys, you can recast it so it ends faster. So the stun comes out a lot faster. That's something you only want to do if you have like to engage in a team fight, or if your jungler comes in and you only need the CC. If you're fighting in a 1 versus 1, you really want to let it fully finish, so it blocks out as much damage as possible and also makes it impossible for the opponent to trade back during that animation. It is a champion that you can play really aggressive with. Very strong in the silent guys. He destroys a lot of champions in 1 versus 1s, and later on, once you get items, then it's also a champion that can destroy people in 1 versus 2s, 1 versus 3s and so on, because he has a bit of everything. He has damage, he has mobility and he has tankiness as well. Now we got level 6, so it has a passive and an active. The passive, every third auto attack is going to deal bonus damage, and this is also magic damage. And the active is going to give you bonus armor and magic resistance. This is what makes you extremely tanky in fights guys. It's also what makes it really hard to shut down JAX. So as soon as you have this ultimate up, with this passive, what you want to do when you trade is that you stack up 2 auto attacks on the minions and then you jump onto the enemy champion, get that empowered auto attack damage off, and then you immediately reset it with your W, so you get like another empowered auto attack off. That's like your basic way of trading before you go for those all-ins. Now it is a champion that does well into those other champions where their main damage comes from auto attacks. Something like the Tryndamere, Yasuo, Yone, Fiora and so on. That's why JAX can be really good. It's a champion that can do well into a lot of matchups, and it is also a champion that rewards you for the time put into it because of its extremely high carry potential. So if you manage to get a lead early on in the laning phase, then most of the time you should be able to snowball the game, because that's how strong he is, and that's also how hard he is to shut down, because of his mobility, damage and the tankiness he gets from his ultimate. So the Sheen is a really good item on JAX because it works off of his W, empowered auto attack, giving a lot of extra bonus damage. We're gonna go for the Divine Sunderer because, as I said, JAX has a lot of mixed damage, he has a lot of physical damage and also magic damage. And with the Divine Sunderer, you get both Magic Pen and Armor Pen, and JAX benefits from both of these stats. So for mythic items you kinda have 2 options. You have the Trinity Force, which is great against squishier teams, but most of the time you want to be going for the Divine Sunderer, just because of the synergy and also because it does well into those tankier champions and bruisers as well. This is how you want to engage with JAX. Really make sure that you abuse that E. If you don't have it up, then most of the time you just want to avoid fighting because it's such a strong ability that you really want to make sure that you have this up whenever you go for trades. Just keep pushing in the silent. So JAX is a split pusher, meaning that you want to carry the game by constantly pushing in the silence, taking down the towers and these objectives like the Herald, Dragons and so on. He's okay in teamfights, but there are a lot better champions in teamfights. Split pushers are just designed to split push in the side lane, destroy opponents in 1 versus 1s, take towers and pressure the enemy team that way. So it is a champion that can do well in 1 versus 2s, but you need the proper setup. People can bait out your E. Your E is like the main ability that allows you to do well in those 1 versus 2s, and if you don't get to use it properly, then of course people will be able to turn back on you. So the first core item is going to be the Divine Sunderer. Need enough gold for it, of course. As soon as you have that, then that is a big power spike. As I said earlier on, JAX has great synergy with the Sheen passive. And also the other passive of this mythic item that gives you Magic Pen as well as Armor Pen. Because JAX has both physical damage and magic damage. So he's going to benefit a lot from this item. And it is really going to increase his damage output by a lot. So remember the basic way of trading, if you are not as ahead as I am in this game, because you will not be able to pick up a lot of kills in the early game every single game. And when you are not, that's when you really want to make sure that you stack up this ultimate passive. So you get like 2 auto attacks off on the minions, and then you jump onto the enemy champion, get that empowered auto attack off, and then you immediately follow up with your W. You can see he does have pretty low cooldown, guys. So this is pretty much also what allows him to go for those 1 versus 2s. And if you win one of those 1 versus 2s, then you're gonna snowball the game and you're gonna 1v9. Just keep pushing and really make sure that you play for those objectives as well. If you can get those tower plates in the early game, that is going to give you a lot of gold, because every single plate is going to give you 160 gold. So if you get 2 plates, then that is already more gold than what you would be getting from a kill. It's very rare that I go for those team fights on JAX. You can still do it because you can build tanky on JAX and then he can be a bit better in team fights. But I like playing him as a complete split pusher where you just pressure the opponent from the side lane like 90% of the time. When you have the double buffs, of course JAX becomes even more obnoxious, but with the lethal tempo guys, this champion becomes an insane hyper carry. You can also use Conqueror on him, it is mostly preference, but lethal tempo is so strong, like gives you so much attack speed, makes it impossible to trade against this champion level 1. That's how strong this keystone is, and when you combine that with your E, then that just becomes even worse for the opponent. Gonna get all the remaining tower plates here with the Rift Herald. Of course, since we're sharing the gold, then we're only getting 80 gold per tower plate. It's also fine though because we get the tower, meaning that the top side of the map is completely open now, so that allows me to invade the enemy jungler and be as annoying as I possibly can. You just want to constantly split push in the silence. So like if the dragon is up right now, you want to be on the opposite side of the WAM where the main objective is set. So if the dragon is up, you want to be top side. If only the herald is up, then you want to be in the bottom side. So if that's the case, then make sure that you switch with your bot lane. If they don't want to, then of course you can't really do anything about it, but if they want, then that's going to be so much better. Your goal is to be as annoying as possible, and the way you do that is you just AFK push in the silence. When you have teleport up, then you don't have to worry about your teammates getting caught because you can always TP in. But only TP in if you think that you can win the fight or if you're getting something out of it. If you think they're just going to die anyways, then just don't use the teleport. Just split push in the silence and try to get a tower instead. So like when you fully push the lane out and you're not able to do anything, you cannot dive the opponent and they have to farm on the tower and you have nothing else to do, just walk into the enemy jungle and then try to take away the jungle camps. Because that is going to give you even a bigger lead, and it is also setting the enemy jungler even further behind. So it also allows you to really abuse that lead. And just walk into the enemy jungle, take away the camps. Your E also works on the monsters, as I said, so it is going to block out the damage. The JAX also works as a jungler, but he's by far best as a top laner. You're going to max out that E second, and because of how powerful it is, guys, always max out the W first and then the E second. So this is one of those 1 vs 3s. Of course I'm really fed this game. But even if I was not, when you have the Divine Sunderer, you can pull off stuff like this. JAX is just gonna run people down because you get so much armor and MR from your ultimate, it makes it very hard for people to trade with you. That's why he can be so strong in those 1 vs 2s, 1 vs 3s and so on. After we got those kills, taking away all the monster camps, so we're gonna put Lilia even further behind, really punishing her for trying to camp us. And I can promise you guys this is going to tilt the enemy jungler so much. Just keep pushing. You can also use that E as wave clear, but do not do that if you think that you're going to get ganked soon or a fight is going to start, because that ability is so crucial. You can use that Warding Totem to water up with, as I said early on. So if you don't have your flash up, then that is going to be your other way of getting out. Unless you have some kind of targetable something behind you that you can dash to. If you don't, then your Warding Totem is going to be your only escape out. Blade of the Ruined King is another power spike. When you have these two items, that's where you really start spiking a lot in terms of damage output. This is the point where you have to carry the game, you have to destroy the opponent, you have to force those 1 versus 1 fights. When you win those fights, that's when you push for the objectives. Just stay in the side lane for as long as possible. I don't like grouping on this champion. I only like to group when you fight for those dragons and barons and so on. Otherwise I really like to stay in the side lane for as long as possible. Now we're gonna go bottom side because the tier 2 is still up, so of course we want to pressure for those. And now the objective bounties are up as well, so we really want to make sure that the opponent are not getting any of those towers for free. Just keep pushing in the silence. He does have decent wave clear with the E, but as I said early on, do not waste your E if you don't know where the enemy team is at, because then the fight might start and then you will not have this ability up. Also, your W does not deal bonus damage to the towers, but you can still use it as an auto attack reset, just so the damage, like the auto attack damage, comes out a lot faster, because you do have the sheen, and that does work on the tower, so you want to abuse that. Just keep pushing in the silence, be as annoying as possible. If the AD carry is overextended, you can easily destroy them in a 1 versus 1. Even if you're like, if you died once and you don't have any kills, if you have farmed up decently, then you can still easily destroy them. Just keep split pushing, force multiple opponents to come defend against you, and once that happens, then your team will be free to do the Rift Herald, the Baron, or whatever else is up. That's how you want to pressure as a split pusher. When the team fights start, you can flank as JAX, because you usually want to go for the carries, you know, the squishy targets in the backline. Because of that ultimate, you're going to be extremely tanky, so it's going to take so much time before they can actually take you down. So you can also work as a frontliner for your team, but with that damage output of yours, you can easily burst down those squishy mages or AD carries, and if you manage to do that, then you're gonna win the fight. Just keep split pushing in the side lane, take out any squishy carry who thinks they can walk up and farm for free, nuke them, take away the towers, the inhibitor, and when they see a really fit JAX, that's when they're gonna FF the game. Remember to not waste your E, guys, only use it when you really need it. Against an AD carry, that is of course when you want to engage, or when you're already in melee range and you're playing against something like a Vayne, who can easily stretch you to pieces if you don't have that E up. Make sure that you only use it when she's going to auto attack, because that is going to buy you a lot of time, and that is usually enough time for you to like burst it down and get the kill. Now we have the Xerax Gauge. That's another tanky item, because now we have like 2 heavy damaging items. We also want something that gives us even more tankiness. So this combined with the Divine Sunderer makes us extremely tanky. And that was how to play JAX, so I hope this was helpful. As always, thank you so much for watching and see you all in the next one.